Joining me today, Ginger Collins. Ginger, how has life been so far in the last month or so down in Pilot Mound for you, the family, and the community? Let's start with that.
Well, it's been interesting. We're learning how to work in the new world. It is you go from disbelief to going, oh my goodness, this is really real. The community is doing very well. We have no cases of COVID. Manitoba, of course, is doing quite well. So we're happy and just carrying on as best we can.
So for yourself, Ginger, I know that there was a bit of a, not a concern, but in these interesting times, you certainly had your hands full when it came to getting the players home back to their respective communities and their hometowns once this isolation started. How was that for you, and was everyone able to get home safe in the near future?
Well, we finally managed to get everybody home as of last week. We still had three American kids and one from BC that were waiting to see whether school was going to start again. And then they've made their way home now. At the very beginning, it was a bit chaotic because, we weren't sure what was happening, and I'm not sure whether school was going to start in a couple of weeks. So people had not made plans to go home. So we kept the kids here for probably about 2.5 to 3 weeks after everybody else was shut down. We were still going, just kind of waiting and trying to decide. And eventually we got everybody home.
So now that everybody's home, the resources and the schooling can now start up again, even though we don't know if students are going to come back for this school year, correct?
That's correct. I'm not thinking it is going to, but it is an indefinite closure, so they could come back up at some point if they wanted to. I've met with the school board, and the principal and the secretary at the school has been excellent in keeping in touch. I understand that all the teachers are being in touch with the students, and school is carrying on. So they will. Our expectation from Pilot-Mound Hockey-Academy is that every player will continue to work towards getting their assignments in, and even though they have a grade at what is going to be, they can increase that grade. So we're wanting them to use that time. We want them to be ready in September.
No, absolutely. For the kids that are graduating, obviously not having a graduating ceremony perhaps, or not able to see their classmates and graduate with them, personally, side by side. Does that pose a bit of a different feeling the way school is now, considering it's all online and there's no personal interaction?
Yes, it's much more difficult to keep the kids engaged. A lot of parents are still working in their essential services, and so they're working hard, and it's hard to keep those kids going in their classes. It feels like summer holidays, and it hasn't quite. They still have 2 months of work left to do. So we're just hoping that they can find a way to keep on track. And the graduating students were devastated. It was so hard for them when you consider that someone has come from Washington State as well as Duncan, BC, and they've been here for 3 years and poured a lot of energy into Pilot Mound, and they wanted to graduate here. So they were two of the ones that hung in here the longest, and they were the saddest that they had to go and miss that graduation.
You mentioned Duncan, BC, and I sat down and chatted with Tyne and Ewart, who eventually did get home. His mom and dad are very happy that all of his belongings have come home as well. The suits were underneath the hockey bag. Nonetheless, he's one of those seniors that is graduating this year, and clearly you mentioned like the energy that's been poured into the program. When you talk about the players and the student athletes that the Hockey Academy bring from all these communities, how impressive is it that they have this connection and this feeling that Pilot Mound has now become like their second home? And you, Ginger, are one of the main reasons why it feels like second home for these players. What does that make you? How does that make you feel?
Well, it makes me feel pretty proud that they do feel that way, that Pilot Mound is home to them. They wanted to stay home until their graduating class happened. They don't really, because they've been here for 3 years, especially Tynan and Gracie, they've been here for 3 years, and So that this is all that they really know. They go home for the summer and they come back here for 10 months. So it is this is just like being home. So having them so far away is difficult because they can't connect then with all of their classmates and feel like things are still going forward like the local kids can.
Absolutely. And the local kids aren't obviously coming to class. They're doing their studies as well online. How have you heard from any of the players, and how have they been doing with this adjustment with the times we're in right now?
Well, I've talked to a few of them. I've talked to a few parents that they are struggling a bit. Some, of course, are keeping up. Some, it's hard to get that motivation because you have a mark already. And so the point is to try to get that content and make sure that you're ready for next year. So they do have some work to do. But I think for the most part, most of them, our Pilot-Mound Hockey-Academy kids are probably more able to do that online learning because they are so used to doing that on the road, getting their classes on Google Classroom and handing them in. So they're probably better equipped. And I think our school was better equipped because of the being used to working with the academy. They've got Google Classroom down pat. So I think our school in general was pretty well set up for the closure.
You mentioned that being, I don't want to use the, for lack of a better term, being ahead of the curve and not flattening the curve, but being ahead of the curve technology-wise. I mean, a lot of these players do get their assignments online when they're on the road, and talking to a lot of them, it's not their priority. Their priority is obviously to play hockey on the road, but they realize and they understand that student comes first, athlete comes second. In terms of, for this year, for the next oncoming students, and for the players, what have you been doing behind the scenes to make sure that the academy is going to be prepared so that we're ready to run or skate, full stride when we get this ban or this lift taken care of?
Well, I think probably what we have a lot to do is we have rooms that still have all their stuff in it because most of them left, went back to Alberta, BC, wherever they came from, the States, and they still have belongings here, Nunavut, Yellowknife. So that's our next step, is to try to look at who's coming back. We'll straighten up the rooms and get them cleaned, and the rest of the stuff we'll look at how are we going to get that back home to them. And with the closures, even the provincial closures, it'll be a while. So we're just kind of sitting back waiting until some of that opens up, and then they can come and retrieve their stuff. If they're not coming back, if they're coming back, that's great. And we'll just keep their belongings until they come back in September.
I didn't realize that. I mean, they basically just flew back home to be with their family and not really basically pack a bag if you have one and that's it, right?
It actually happened pretty fast. And so, yeah, that's basically what their rooms look like, is that they packed a bag and left. And,
so which rooms look ugly?
Everybody was in a little bit of a hurry and not quite sure what was going on. And so, yeah, they still have lots of stuff here.
So I got to ask you this question, Ginger. If you had to look at the boys' dorm or the girls' dorm, which one's cleaner? Which one's more tidy? Which one's, a little more prepared so you're not walking into a chaotic zone?
The girls is better. I have to admit.
Putting the boys on the spot. There we go.
That's right.
There we go. Right on. So we're going to take a quick break, Ginger. We'll be right back. We're going to talk about the position that is open right now, the dorm parent. We'll talk about that when we come back. We'll be right back on the PMHA show here on ASTV. So we're back with Ginger Collins. Ginger, we have some business to take care of, and that includes a position that is open as a dorm parent with the Hockey Academy. Can you give us a bit of an explanation on what it is and the job description itself?
Well, we have it's called a resident life dorm coordinator. And this person is responsible for all of the dorm life experience. So they are there 24/7. As long as the kids are on site, they are on site. And when they have breaks, they're able to leave. But basically they get them up in the morning, making sure that they're doing what they need to be doing. They're the ones that the kids check in with if they're going somewhere. They liaise with the school, so they'll go once a week to the school and kind of check up on how everybody's doing there. They're on duty at night if the kids need anything. They're there as a friend and a mentor, but also as someone who just keeps the place going and making sure that everybody's doing what they should be doing, and making sure that they're keeping the kids safe, and that it's a healthy environment for them to live in. That's kind of the side where, you know, they can go and they can do their hockey, but then this is their home when they come back. And that's what we try to make it, is their home.
Absolutely. You talk about, as a hockey academy, like other schools out west, there's, you know, a group of players that are from the hometown. When you look at Pilot Mound Hockey-Academy, I think there's maybe 2 to 3 players from both teams together that are actually from the surrounding area of Pilot Mound. So almost 90% of the team is from other areas. And that just tells you how imperative this position is. Does it cover both the male and the female team, or just one?
It covers both. You know, these student athletes are 15 to 18 years old. So, you know, it's not like they need to have somebody watching them all the time. They need to be responsible. And so they do look after both, but they're not alone, because they have myself and Rod and the coaches to be there as backup. So we kind of work together as a team very much. And this person has a lot of contact with the coaching staff and Rod and myself, and we make plans. And so it's not like they're totally alone making decisions, but they are the person that every kid sees first thing in the morning and last thing at night.
So that position is now open. When would you like to have it filled, Ginger? Obviously sooner than later.
Well, as soon as I know I have my first round of applications due on May 4th, and of course the position won't start till September. But I'd like to be able to, now's the time when some of those dorm parents that are working in universities and whatnot that are moving, starting to look for different positions if that's what they're looking for. So I think the timing it's a good time to start looking now, and then they'll have their summer and they'll be able to start in September.
So the position is online at pilotmoundhockeyacademy.com, correct?
That's correct.
Okay,
and they can connect with me. It's also listed on Indeed, as well as eBrandon and Pembina Valley Online.
Okay, perfect. So the position we look to fill soon. Pilot Mound's a small community. It's a hockey academy. What type of, candidates are we looking for this position?
We really need someone who is very dynamic and energetic. We need energy, and that position needs energy. It's not hard work, but it can sometimes be long and demanding, because you've got 40 kids that are wanting you to sign papers, or you're wanting to have can I have 10 minutes of your time to talk, and those kinds of things. And so it becomes a bit long that way sometimes. So we need someone who is patient, but who can also make good decisions. A critical thinker, know when you need to have outside help come in. You need someone with excellent communication skills and just the ability to be able to interact with the student athletes and looking at their nutrition and those kinds of things, that they can be able to be sure that they're kind of got everybody in sight.
So the word balance comes to mind. Experience is number 2. Not necessarily a hockey player, but someone that's able to be that person of mental strength and compromise, I think, is the right key skills we're looking for in terms of the right fit for a position like this. I remember my dorms back in the day when I went to hockey camps only for a week or two, but this is a year-long position, and I know it's going to wear on people, but they have to have the mental fortitude, of course, to be able to balance everything that's thrown at them, correct?
That's correct. They have a lot coming at them, and like I say, sometimes you have 40 kids that are that are looking to have a little bit of your time. So sometimes it can be nothing going on, and sometimes there can be lots going on. And again, a lot of it, that depends on what's happening on the ice and within the teams. That backlash always comes back home. So we want to make sure that someone has those critical thinking skills and be able to interact and be able to also provide that other level, because they provide off-site activities. So we went tobogganing, we do lots of stuff on the ice as fun as well. So we want to have that place where it's not just always hockey and school, that there's a fun side too.
Perfect. So we have those dates up on the website. Is there any other deadlines we have for the Hockey Academy this spring? I mean, everything's kind of put on hold. We can't have development camps. The coaches are obviously looking to recruit right now. Is there anything else from more of a behind-the-scenes deadline thing, Ginger, that we need to make aware of?
Well, the coaches are busy recruiting, and some of our returning players, they're working with them and new players. Anybody from Manitoba has to register with the school of choice by May the 15th. So we need to have anybody within Manitoba. But the other deadline for the female program is June 15th. Hockey Manitoba, that is, we can only sign Manitoba players up until June 15th for the female program and August 15th for the male program. So anybody in Manitoba, we have to get going right away on that recruitment. But recruiting is going well, and we're relying a lot on video and talking and interviewing the kids that are interested in coming. So it's kind of business as usual.
Okay. Has Hockey Manitoba discussed with, Rod or yourself or any of the academy with regards to extending these deadlines due to the circumstances we're in, or is it something where they have to have these deadlines and these schools of choice chosen because they want, or assuming they're going to have a fall start to the 2020-2021 season?
Yeah, we've asked for an extension in that deadline, and we haven't heard back from Hockey Manitoba yet. So I'm sure that everybody is looking for the same thing. It's just going to make it a tough recruiting year. But you know what? We still have lots of interest, and things are ongoing. So I have no doubt we'll have 2 teams ready to go in September.
So this time last year, we'd still have ice because there would be a development camp. Is the ice still in right now at the rink, or is it gone?
No, it's gone.
Okay.
As soon as the state of emergency went on and there was no access to that public building, the rink board couldn't hold the ice because of cost, and so it was gone. Yeah.
Let's talk about that for a minute, because the one thing that I truly admire about the community at Pilot Mound that surrounds the Hockey Academy is the fact that that volunteer group that is involved with that center is amazing. And the same people, the number of people, and more importantly, the generations of families that get involved is truly special. This academy's only been around for 5 years, but the community has surrounded it and taken care of it in its short span. How, as the Collins family, because you are one of the brain groups behind this, how is that impressive, and why is it so important to this community?
Well, I think that the Pilot Mound Millennium Complex has worked hard, and it's been community built. It's community operated. We don't have any paid employees there, so it becomes very much of a community complex. And everything that happens there is the heart of the community. So you can have hundreds of people at a Little Tykes game, and it's just very vibrant and a very busy part of our community. So it's very important to us, and as a family that likes to support community and to make the community grow, it's become very important to us to make sure that complex is sustainable, which is one of the reasons why we wanted to bring the Hockey Academy to Pilot Mound.
The community club, the complex now includes a movie theater, training facilities upstairs, a curling side, a hockey side. Truly an amazing building for the community and the surrounding area, and the volunteer group is amazing. Which coach have you talked to the most, Ginger, and which one is looking forward to seeing hockey return the most?
Well, I think they're both pretty excited, but I think that Rick, probably after that big win, he wants to get his team back together and get back on the ice. And I have talked to both of them. Harry is working hard too at getting his team together. And so I think they're both pretty excited to get back on the ice.
Now, I don't know if you can answer this, but I'm going to ask this question anyway. The differences in the divisions that the teams are in now, the U17 and the different names of the divisions, does that change much for the coaches in the recruiting, or for you yourself and what you need to plan behind the scenes?
I think it doesn't change a whole lot of what I do. I think that I'm hoping that it will help make the recruitment a little bit easier. We're looking at a different level of skill a little bit. So we'll see what happens. But I think that for me, it doesn't make a whole lot of difference. But I think that the coaches are looking forward to playing in a different league.
So, Ginger, I want to thank you very much for chatting with me about the Hockey Academy, the community. What's open in Pilot Mound on a daily basis? It's what's considered the essentials in the hometown.
Well, actually, the town keeps pretty busy because our local grocery store is open, both, and as well as our hardware stores. And my understanding from them is that they're pretty busy doing organizational things and paint sales. Everybody is busy doing some home renovations while they're home. Most of our businesses, although their doors might be closed, and we may have to knock on the door to get in or to leave our stuff for them. But in Pilot Mound, I was thinking the other day that most of it is still going, except unfortunately our restaurants. But they're still busy with takeout and doing some of that. So yeah, it is. It's actually busier because not so many people are traveling. So I think that's great for our local community and our local businesses, and hopefully I think people are supporting local a little bit more than they have in the past. They're just not able to travel as much.
Well, I'm hoping that there's more family time being taken care of, and taking care of family with obviously social distancing. And it's nice to see the community still doing very well during these times. Ginger, is there any last words you want to mention about the community, the program that we need to know about?
I just think we look forward to starting up again in September. Hopefully everybody stays safe and well through this COVID, and that they find a good vaccine that will keep us safe from it, and we can all carry on. It's going to be a very lonely world if we can't have our sporting events, and it's important to us, and especially important in our small areas as well. So we look forward to getting going again in September.
The information for the academy is on below, pilotmoundhockeyacademy.com. It's springtime. The golf course is supposed to be open soon. The Pilot baseball team has a championship to defend. And, of course, off-season training and all the extracurricular track and field events I know a lot of the players participate in would have been going on currently. So a little bit of a difference. Ginger Collins with the Pilot Mound Hockey Academy. Thank you so much for spending the time with me today and conversing with regards to the openings with the program, as well as how the students and yourself are keeping well during this time. This has been the Pilot Mound Hockey Academy show on ASTV. Thanks for watching.